It begins quietly. No gunfire, no revolutions, only the hum of cities, the ticking of clocks, the steady pulse of economies that never sleep. People wake, work, and vote, believing their choices shape the world. But beneath it all, something older stirs, something that does not answer to ballots or borders. Democracy was meant to give power to the people. Money was meant to serve them. Yet over time, those roles reversed. Today, money commands, and democracy obeys. Most never notice. The world seems stable, predictable, until one question slips through the cracks. If every government is in debt, who holds the power? And that's when the silence begins to sound like a secret. The ordinary world. For most people, the world feels stable, predictable. There is work to do, taxes to pay, news to follow, and elections to cast a vote in every few years. The system hums like a vast machine. Imperfect, maybe, but functioning. It promises progress for those who try hard enough, justice for those who follow the rules, and prosperity for those who believe. From childhood, the rhythm is taught like a lullaby. Study hard, get a job, earn money, save it, retire. The system will take care of the rest. There are budgets, debates, and political campaigns, all filled with the language of control. Politicians argue over how to spend public money as if they truly command it. Newscasters speak of the economy as if it were a natural force, like gravity, rather than a set of human decisions. And every year, governments stand before their citizens and promise balance, growth, stability. It all feels democratic. It all feels fair. But beneath that calm surface, another rhythm beats, quieter, older, and infinitely more powerful. Behind every policy is a price. Behind every promise, a payment due. And though the speeches speak of values and vision, the real decisions are made in numbers, in deficits and yields, in bond markets and credit ratings. Few notice it, but the language of democracy has slowly changed. Where once leaders spoke of duty and destiny, now they speak of investor confidence. Where once nations were guided by ideals, now they are steered by interest rates. The people sense this shift, even if they can't name it. They feel it when prices rise, but wages do not. They feel it when hospitals close, when teachers are laid off, when entire policies are abandoned because the markets wouldn't like it. There's a strange irony in modern freedom. Citizens can say almost anything, but they cannot spend without permission. Governments can promise anything, but only if someone will lend them the money to make it real. And so life continues. Elections come and go, currencies rise and fall, and yet the same invisible balance sheet decides what is possible and what is not. Every dream is measured against what can be afforded. Every reform must be fiscally responsible. The illusion holds that democracy leads and money follows, that the people vote and the system obeys, that the power rests with the many, not the few. But deep within that illusion, something is beginning to stir. A quiet unease, a sense that control might not rest where it seems, that perhaps the machine of progress isn't being driven by the people at all, but by something else entirely. The streets look the same, the flags still wave, the votes are still counted. Yet beneath the surface, the wires hum with unseen power. And sooner or later, someone will start to listen to that hum, to question it, to ask where the sound is coming from, and who exactly it serves. Because every story of awakening begins the same way, with the faint suspicion that the world you live in isn't the one you were told it was. The call to adventure. The illusion begins to tremble. A financial crash, a sudden inflation, the quiet panic of people realizing that their savings are worth less today than yesterday. And through the chaos, a realization forms. Every promise of democracy, justice, opportunity, choice depends on invisible forces no one voted for. Interest rates, credit ratings, debt ceilings. Rules set not by parliaments, but by markets. Something hidden governs everything visible. And once that is seen, there's no unseeing it. The journey has begun. Crossing the threshold. To understand the present, one must travel backward, to the origin of the spell. London, 1694. The air thick with coal smoke and ambition. A kingdom desperate for money to wage war. Merchants and goldsmiths step forward with an offer. They will lend the crown the funds it needs, in exchange for the right to issue paper money backed by that very debt. The king agrees, and in that moment, the world changes. Debt becomes money, money becomes power, and governments become borrowers in perpetuity. A new empire is born, invisible, silent, self-replicating. Its capital is trust, its soldiers are promises, its dominion total. The descent. The centuries unfold like chapters in a single book. Empires rise and fall. Constitutions are written, votes are cast. But the same pattern endures beneath it all. The debt must be paid. Revolutions promise freedom, but freedom costs money. Wars promise glory, but glory is financed. Even peace has a price, written in interest and inflation. Every leader learns the same lesson. Markets rule faster than laws, and creditors speak louder than citizens. When governments defy them, currencies collapse. When societies demand justice, credit dries up. Control no longer requires armies. It requires spreadsheets. The battlefield of this war is not land but liquidity, not weapons but belief. The revelation. The truth finally emerges. Money and democracy were never equal partners. Money creates debt. Debt creates dependence. Dependence dictates obedience. Democracy speaks in ballots, but money speaks in interest rates, and the second voice always overrules the first. It doesn't conquer through violence. It conquers through necessity. Governments cannot function without borrowing. Borrowing cannot continue without growth. And growth in the end consumes everything: labor, land, even the will of the people. This is the silent war, a system that feeds on faith, demanding belief in its permanence, even as it erodes the foundation it stands on. The abyss. History becomes a mirror. Chile, 1973. A government elected by its people collapses under financial pressure. Greece, 2015. Citizens vote to reject austerity, and their economy is strangled overnight. Nations fall, not by invasion, but by withdrawal, of capital, of credit, of confidence. No guns, no smoke, only silence. Democracy kneels not to kings or gods, but to the invisible empire of markets. A quiet obedience enforced, not by fear, but by debt. The illusion of choice remains intact, yet every choice is bounded by the same invisible hand, the road back. And then comes the moment of clarity, the realization that the system's greatest weapon is belief. Money is not gold or paper or numbers. It's faith. Faith that others will accept it. Faith that the system will hold. And as long as that faith remains unchallenged, power remains in the same hands. But belief can be reclaimed. If the system runs on trust, then trust can be rewritten. If money is an agreement, then the agreement can change. The first rebellion is not in the streets, it's in the mind. It begins when silence is broken, when people start asking not how much things cost, but who decides what they're worth. The resurrection awareness spreads, quietly at first, then faster. The realization that money is not the enemy, but the mask, a tool that has forgotten its purpose. The spell begins to weaken. Each truth revealed pulls another thread from the illusion. The understanding dawns. The system endures only because people believe they cannot change it. But they can. They always could. Change does not come from new rulers or new policies. It comes from consciousness, from seeing the architecture of control and refusing to worship it. Democracy does not need to overthrow money. It needs to remember that it created it. The return. And so the journey circles back to where it began. The hum of cities, the ticking of clocks, the pulse of economies. The world looks the same, but nothing feels the same. Because now, the silence has meaning. The war between money and democracy is still being fought. In policies, in markets, in every decision that trades the will of people for the comfort of debt. But once seen, it cannot remain invisible. And once understood, it cannot remain unchallenged. Money is not destiny. It is design, and what is designed can be redesigned. History doesn't repeat, it reveals. And what it reveals is this: freedom begins not with wealth, but with awareness. The silence is breaking, and that sound, faint, steady, rising, is the return of power to where it always belonged. This war was never about wealth, it was about the power of belief, and belief, once awakened, is impossible to silence. If you're ready to keep peeling back the layers, like this video and subscribe for more hidden history and financial truths.